All right, my hair is either going to look like a medieval peasant, like it does today, where I shovel hay, or I'm a blacksmith's assistant or something, or I'm going to look like an anime character, and it's going to bounce between those two things. That's just how it works. And I've seen enough comments already. I can't escape it. Anyway, I was thinking that I'm not really satisfied with where I am as a developer, and I want to make a series where I incrementally improve, and I want advice from everyone on how I can do it. But I thought the best thing I could do to start was to just go over my resume and be very honest about what I'm good at and what I'm not good at in programming and how I could improve, and like what on my resume am I just blatantly lying about, because let's be honest, we all grossly exaggerate our abilities. So I'm going to pull up that bad boy right now, and hope you like the third person perspective. I didn't really do that on purpose, it just turned out that way. All right, so my phone number and email and stuff are all a bunch of X's. That's I'll probably change that if I were to actually submit this, but I think it would be fun to grow a big long resume, like to have a series where like I slowly add things and then my resume gets to be like 35 pages. That would be cool. Or I guess that's more of a CV. I don't really know the difference. Who cares? Okay, so I'm in junior year for an applied math degree, and I've taken a lot more actually computer science classes than I have math classes because they're cross-listed. They kind of count for either one in my university, which is a bit weird, but it's how it is. And as far as like actual math goes, basically the highest conceptual math I've taken is abstract algebra, which is honestly kind of disappointing in my book. Like that's like not that crazy into abstract math. My problem with abstract math is I feel like I'm not really going to apply it unless I get really good at something. And it's kind of like a down the road application thing. And yeah, it's tough because if you're really, really cracked and you're doing really low level stuff or really advanced rendering stuff, then the math can be very, very useful. But for most people, in my experience in software engineering, you're barely ever going to use the math. It's like, it's kind of related, but like you're never going to whip out abstract algebra concepts. I also know some ancient Greek. Now that has come in extremely handy for lots of stuff. Then there's my work experience. I did a job shadow program at this electric airplane company. That was kind of cool. The main highlight was there was like rustic bread, and they had some really good butter on that bread. That's the main thing I remember, honestly. There were some guys using Docker there too, I think. I sorted some bugs when I was in high school. I worked at a bread company, a bakery, I guess is what that's called. And then I was a data science intern, and I did a bunch of AI stuff with like graph rags in general, and AI stuff on data. I don't know. It wasn't that interesting. I had another kind of internship, more like a research thing, where I was working with a couple doctors on vascular research. But it's all like buzzwordy and fake. Like what this was in reality was just like building a RAG, retrieval augmented generation, which is where you just chunk up a bunch of data into different vectors and then you store it in a database, and it's literally like 15 lines of Python. This is like barely a skill. This is like watch one tutorial, learn in an afternoon skill that's like in high demand right now. And I didn't like this at all because I found this internship, and somewhat this internship too, to be kind of like fake in the sense that it's like all stuff that like is hyped up to be like, oh, this is a useful product people are going to use, and this entire project is like a footnote of like some random thing OpenAI does or some other company does. It's like just like a fake version of that to teach kids stuff, which I don't know. Like I get that you can't be like a junior intern, can barely center a div or whatever, and you're not going to be churning out like industry defining products, but it just like I have a problem doing things that I don't find are like rich with meaning. So I don't know, I learned a lot about how AI is being used right now, and honestly, it's not super deep. There's like transfer learning, graph rags, and model fine-tuning, and then there's like CNNs and GPTs, and there's a couple different architectures for those. I feel like I know all the terminology. I know basically how a GPT works, but I'm not like crazy deep into any of the research side. I couldn't tell you the nitty-gritty details without rewatching like a 3 Blue 1 Brown video. So I don't know. I don't feel that good about my understanding. Then I worked for the Chilean government. Technically, they were funding this project, but it was more through my school. And it was just like I don't know, like a Svelte kit nonsensey blog website with some images on it. Nothing too crazy. I also worked for this small like internship combinator thing at my school, but it was honestly also just like, let's get kids working on some things that like nobody actually is ever gonna use. To be like, I don't know. Everyone was pretending it was like real stuff, but it was like clients would come up with like the most, I don't know. There was some app we had to make that was like. It was like a disaster response reporting thing, and it's like nobody's ever going to use this random app developed by these college kids. Everyone just calls 911. It's like, yeah, it was just like fake work to do some full stack web development. And then StartGG was probably the realest company I worked at. I was just working on some legacy PHP and React, and it was like that I learned the most. I learned about Kubernetes and stuff, and I learned a lot there, but it was short-lived. Then I also worked on some legacy code for an archaeological dig, doing like Flask, and it was like an ancient Python app in SQL, and I honestly like barely did anything to that, so I hardly consider it work experience. Like I just read this Flask app and I was like, all right, shit works. I had all these grand aspirations of like, oh, I'm gonna turn this into like a super performant HTMX. I'm gonna like have this fuzzy search library. It's gonna be like, because it's basically just a database of stuff, of different archaeological objects. And then it turns out in the end it was like, this thing works. It's like slightly slow, but I'm not trying to redo all this stuff that already works. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of software engineering jobs are. Okay, so then I made this a while ago. I don't know how accurate this will be. Programming languages, Rust, Java. I know all the syntax for these languages, I guess, but like I've used Ruby probably once to do like a homebrew tap, which is like a config file. So Ruby is like totally a scam. I don't know Ruby. The other stuff, sure. I'm the strongest in TypeScript for sure, which is really unfortunate for me, to be honest. Like I'll discuss why I don't like that next, but then a bunch of random libraries. I made this when I was more of a beginner, and I personally don't love having tons of libraries on your resume, because it's like you'll realize that it doesn't really matter what libraries you've used, because a lot of them come down to the same principles. I don't know, I put them on there to show that I'm not like a one-trick pony, but it's more about your ability to learn them than the ones that you know. And I don't know like all of these very well at all, to be honest. And then a bunch of other nonsense stuff I put there for other skills. And here are my projects. So the biggest like problems I have with my current projects are they're all mostly like low. They're not very novel like web projects. So I remember building this when I worked at a grocery store, which is just like a fuzzy search algorithm for a bunch of, I don't know, it's just like a fuzzy search, basically wrapper around a service like Algolia or Melee Search. And I think it used SvelteKit, and then like this is just some basic Tailwind style. So that's like a fine web app. And then these other ones as well. Let me just open them up. Oh, I forgot I made this. Faro. Creative project for Russian literature class. Okay, well that didn't open. This is the first web app I ever made, which was in high school using React. And it was like a website to practice chemistry. And back then, it was like a solid project. The problem with all these projects now is they're basically all things you could very easily vibe code. I made this before vibe coding was a thing. So it's like, oh, that looks horrible. And what's this? Yeah, this was all before vibe coding was a thing, but now it's like your most standard vibe codable thing. It's like React, Tailwind, TypeScript, standard internet slop, and it's like the most formulaic thing ever. Same thing with this. Oh, that doesn't work anymore. I think Sylvan's Maze. Yeah, that's what it was called. I hosted this all on Firebase, and this is a little bit better, but this is like just an application of Dijkstra's algorithm, and I don't know. It's nice looking, but it's a classic like svelte web app that you could vibe code like very easily. I don't know. That looks kind of cool, but I kind of got into this rut of doing the same style project over and over again, where I would just do like a web project that uses Meta framework and Tailwind CSS, and then just had some simple animations. And I did that over and over again because I felt like I was getting good at it, and I felt like my designs were like clean and like nice looking. But the problem with doing the same thing over and over again is it doesn't really expand your development abilities. Let's see. And then I did some Rust. I wrote this horribly, like, this is just absolutely garbage code. I would never use this. Like a Rust hotkey daemon, which is just like registers hotkeys that it listens for and then presses things. And it's just like two crates stapled together. I built this Ferris sweep. I cropped some like edges on a pre-existing file. So I'm like barely able to do any circuit engineering. I don't know why that's even on my resume. The best project I think I have was this 3D graphical engine in OpenGL. I don't know if there won't really be any relevant pictures, but it was a model loader. Oh, and then I have this project which I worked on for like a week and then gave up on, which is this like package Neovim package like readme generator, and it's another thing that's like completely vibe codable, but this was before vibe coding, and it's like just another svelte web app that's like kind of mid effort. I don't know, there's like things I could already totally do before, like basic CSS, basic buttons and state, nothing insane. And it didn't really push my boundaries, and I never really finished it, so it's like kind of a shitty project no one would use. And you can see this is also back when I was like farming like GitHub engagement. Like if you look at my GitHub, it's like the most like, it's all like kind of fake effort designed to just farm stars and achievements, which is like, it's just like peak performative get hired, and yeah, it disgusts me. There's no real like difficult work here. And same thing with this password manager I made with my friend Ewan in, I don't know, sophomore year. It's just like a Towery app. And again, it's like I'm just using Svelte. I know several of these meta frameworks. I tried them all, but it's like they're all basically the same. Once you know one, you kind of know them all. I think people often get too caught up. I definitely got caught up in being like, oh, I got to know all the different meta frameworks, but they're all pretty much the same. And once you have basic CSS and basic knowledge of like what runs on the front end, what runs on the back end, it's you can just keep churning them out. And Towery is like, it's literally just like turn your web app into a cross-platform desktop app for zero effort. Like skip understanding any of the shipping software to multiple platform steps. Just like skip over the work, abstract everything away. So I'm not impressed with it. Then I made this nonsense app. This is just another like pretty basic web app, but it uses types. This project was cool. I spent maybe a week on it, but it's honestly like, it's the most simple, logically like, let's see if we can find it on GitHub, more performative star hunting. Like basically the way this works is it's like Mad Libs levels of simple. It's like an array, and then you just like index into it and then use like a couple of pseudo-random number generating techniques, which is just like, I think LCG, linear congruential generation. And if you go to the Wikipedia for this, it's like, it's really, really straightforward. It's just like you multiply by some number, add a constant, and then mod the range. And then you do that like 4 or 5 times. And this was, I don't know, it required some basic math, and that's about it. And then I have the config career forum, which, I don't know, it's something. Oh, I forgot about this, another shitty web app. When I was taking ancient Greek, oh, did that even open? It did. I made this like mini like Quizlet clone basically for Greek endings. You can see I didn't get very far into it. If anyone here has taken ancient Greek at all, like I was more concerned with making this Svelte app than the actual class itself, and I like gave up pretty quickly into the class. And it's just like some really basic layouting, understanding of CSS grids and stuff. And yeah, I don't. It's like you could vibe code a better product than this. So I don't consider it like very important. I made an ant simulator at one point in Godot, and then what I've got outside of that is a bunch of hobbies and extreme privilege. And the extreme privilege is pretty awesome. It's like I go to college for free because my parents are academics, but having academic parents is like much more cracked than that because they like are constantly subliminally pressuring you into like being a high achiever. Like my parents don't ever do that, but it's like, I don't know, my mom just like works all the time on producing comics and stuff. Anyway, yeah, I've been dabbling in low-level programming recently with my friend. We've been reading the Postgres code base, and I'm having a lot of trouble understanding it, but I'm definitely building some lower-level understanding of certain concepts by doing that. Like, I didn't really understand the point of allocators and memory management. I'm understanding memory management, I think, a lot better. What I want to do, though, is really shoot for long-term mastery and understand things at a deeper and more fundamental level. And I'm not really sure how to start understanding the fundamentals. Is there like a book that goes over the lowest level concepts? I feel like right now I'm just like flitting from abstract concept to concept, doing like a little bit of work here and there, watching random YouTube videos, and I'm like progressing at 1/10 of the rate that I want to be. But I don't know, maybe it's all just perspective and mindset. I feel like I'm just not very focused right now. I don't know. I feel like I want a project that pushes my boundaries more. But I also have to work on all this like abstract motivational stuff. Like, it's actually quite difficult to be long-term motivated to do projects. That's a whole like mental state thing you have to work on as well. And I think few people truly have those abilities down because, I don't know, the majority of people are all right programmers, but to be a truly exceptional programmer, you have to have the like long-term drive to learn low-level concepts and really internalize them and really be curious about everything for a long time. It's not an easy skill to fully cultivate, but I'll figure it out one day at a time, or I'll try to. I'll just keep throwing myself at it. And yeah, I'd love to hear your advice. What would you do? What's your roadmap for becoming a better programmer? And people who are better programmers, what's helped you the most? What should I do? What book should I read? What course should I follow? What should I do day to day to become a better programmer? I don't know.